Imagine sinking into dark waters. The cold cuts through your skin. Your lungs beg for oxygen. The pressure crushes your ears. Suddenly, something colossal emerges from below. You are swallowed whole. The story of Jonah and the great fish is famous, but we have turned it into a children's fairy tale. We draw a man sitting in a clean cave. We draw a campfire and a smile. The reality was far more disturbing. Chapter 2 of the book of Jonah does not describe a comfortable rescue. It describes the anatomy of a nightmare. It describes the physical sensation of dying. To understand what Jonah went through, we need to understand that it was not easy. We need to look at marine biology. The original Hebrew text does not say it was specifically a whale. It says it was a great fish, or sea monster, prepared by God. But the physics and biology of being swallowed by a giant of the oceans remain the same. The first shock is not the animal, it is the environment. When the jaws snap shut, the darkness is absolute. The human eye cannot see a thing. There is not a single beam of light. You are floating in a sensory deprivation tank made of flesh and blood. Jonah describes exactly this panic in verse 5. He says, "The waters compassed me about, even to the soul." He was not sitting on dry land. He was slowly drowning inside the creature's stomach. And the text gives us an even more agonizing detail. Weeds were wrapped about my head. He was tangled in seaweed from the ocean floor, dirty, suffocated, and swallowing salt water in the dark. Have you ever stopped to think how the human body reacts in there? We need oxygen every few seconds. The inside of a giant marine creature's digestive system has no oxygen. Instead, it is filled with gases of decomposition. Gases like methane and ammonia. When fish and squid are swallowed and begin to rot in there, these gases accumulate. The air is toxic, heavy, and burns the nostrils. Marine biologists who study sperm whales point out that the internal heat of such an animal can exceed 40 degrees Celsius. It is a humid, dark furnace. And then comes the worst part, the gastric juices. The stomach of large marine predators produces extreme levels of hydrochloric acid. They need to melt scales, bones, and the backbones of giant sharks and squid. The pH of this acid is enough to cause severe chemical burns on human skin in a matter of hours. But why did he survive? If science tells us that the gases, the heat, and the acid should have killed him on the first day, how did he endure 3 days and 3 nights? Jonah gives us the answer in verse 6. He says, "I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever." He felt the creature dive into the deepest parts of the ocean. The water pressure on the outside was immense. "Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God." Jonah's survival was not a normal biological event. It was a miraculous suspension of the laws of nature. God didn't just send the fish. God sustained Jonah's body against the brutal chemistry of the animal's stomach. Every toxic breath he took was filtered by grace. Every chemical burn was contained. Which brings us to the most important question of all. Why would God use such a terrifying method? Why not just send an empty boat to rescue him? Jonah was running away. He preferred to face the fury of a storm on the open sea rather than obey and go to Nineveh. When the sailors threw him into the sea, Jonah had accepted death. The freezing water filled his lungs. His heart was about to stop. The ocean was his grave and his final punishment. And this is where our entire perspective on this story needs to change. The great fish was not Jonah's punishment. The storm was the punishment. Drowning was the end of the line. The sea monster, with its darkness, its acid, and its stench of death, was the lifeboat. The stomach of an abyssal creature was the only safe place God found to shelter a rebellious prophet until he was ready to speak with him. In the midst of the biological hell, Jonah prayed, and on the third day, the same command that created the universe ordered the fish's stomach to no longer hold that man. Have you ever been in a place so dark and suffocating in your life that it felt like a punishment? Perhaps unemployment, a loss, a diagnosis, a place where the air runs out and you feel like you are being swallowed alive. The story of Jonah forces us to look into our own darkness and ask an uncomfortable question. What if what you think came to destroy you is actually the only thing keeping you from drowning for good? Sometimes, God's rescue doesn't look like a luxury cruise. Sometimes, the miracle seems like it won't come, but suddenly it does, and carries your life back to the beach. And what if what you think came to destroy you is actually the only thing keeping you from drowning for good? Sometimes, we look at our pain and say, God, why did you do this to me? We look at the monster of our difficulty and call God cruel. But the truth is that God's character is not measured by the comfort He gives us, but by the protection He offers us, even when we don't understand anything. God is not bad. He is not the author of your suffering. He is the architect of your survival. He didn't send the fish to kill Jonah. He sent the fish to ensure that Jonah's mission wouldn't end at the bottom of the sea. Maybe today, your fish is the problem you fear the most. But stop fighting against God's salvation disguised as difficulty. Surrender control to the one who designed the ocean and the fish, and understand that, in the Creator's plans, even what looks like death serves to bring you back to life. If this video brought a new perspective to your faith and helped you see God's goodness in the midst of the storm, subscribe to Old Strokes. Here, we draw the truth that transforms your vision of the Creator. Leave your amen in the comments and share this video with someone who needs to know that God is in control.